feel like another year with my boys is another year where we can get better and better, and our ceiling is just getting higher and higher.
I'm looking forward to face H2K because they got a new Korean bot lane and I have no clue how good they are yet.
If we have like the synergy and we will try our best, I think we can be the best team because we have the skill to do so.
That's perfect. Okay.
Welcome back to the 2017 EULCS Spring Split, where I'm joined by Stress as well as Perks and Mithy to help break down the series between H2K and Splyce. First up, welcome, gentlemen. Congratulations. What are your general thoughts after your first week, Mithy?
It's good. I was more nervous about the Rocket game than the Fnatic game because, I mean, Rocket is supposed to be more of an underdog, so if we lose to them, it's obviously backfires a bit more. It's not because of anything else. Yeah, I'm happy we won against both teams, even though I think that our Fnatic series was pretty awful in a strategic perspective. It was really fun to watch, at least.
It was super fun to watch, and we'll talk a bit about that with you guys in post-game lobby at the end of the day. Quick thoughts, you were the player of the series today, so congrats on
nice.
that, Perks. Good stuff. Yeah.
Nice.
All right, we're going to take a look at the players hitting the Rift right now, starting with H2K in the top lane, Odoamne, in the jungle, Jankos, Febevin in mid lane, Nuclear and Che in the bottom lane, and their coach, Prali. They had their opening match versus Origin. They kept their own at the 20-25 minutes. In the end, H2K didn't lose control, but it could have been cleaner.
Yeah, I was casting that game, and it just seemed like H2K were a little slow off the mark. Like, they weren't making plays early game. They were just kind of sitting there and not really doing too much around Origin. Coming into this game, have you guys seen too much of H2K's early game? What are your thoughts on that, Perks? Because we just saw Rocket come out fairly good early against you guys.
I think H2K's early game is pretty strong point, at least in scrims, because Jankos is like first blood king or whatever. And then I think H2K still kind of lives and dies by Jankos. It's like if Jankos gets there early, they will be able to snowball it. And if they don't, they might fall behind and fall too far behind to come back. And Splyce, I think, kind of more consistent team. They play like, I think, just more consistently than H2K, just basing by scrims, you know.
And the jungler is really good.
Yeah, and the jungler is also really good. So it's like, I think this will be a really close match, and it's gonna be really close, yeah.
Yeah.
I've got to ask though, real big question for H2K Mithy, their bot lane, Nuclear and Che. What do you make of them so far?
I think they're pretty smart in the way they play. They play around their team and they wait for their opportunities and they don't really like take stupid trades. They're not over aggressive because usually when you play against some bot lanes, especially like in your own region, they try to outplay you. They try to like be a little bit like too aggressive, and that's something that you wouldn't do against a very good opponent because that opponent will not get outplayed, right? So I think overall they're very consistent and they're good. I just want to see how they interact with the rest of the team.
We'll see. And before we move on to Splyce, Perks, we talked a lot about the redemption of Febevin in the 2017 season. Can he get back to his 2015 form? What do you think? What are your experiences? How has he changed in mentality so far?
Well, about his mentality and reading books and stuff and changing himself, I think it's really good for him, and I respect it. And I think it will help him to grow as a player and like as a team player and as a leader or whatever. And I think as a player, like just a player, I think he's really good. He's one of the best mid laners I've played against, and I think he will show up better and better.
I also heard he's becoming a millionaire in the next few years.
Oh, yeah?
A billionaire, not a millionaire.
Billionaire, sorry.
Aren't we all? Yeah. All right, well, taking on H2K, making their 2017 EULCS debut, it is Splyce within the top lane, Wonder in the jungle, Trashy, Senkax in mid, Kabi and Mickey X on support rather on bot lane, and their coach Yamato Cannon. Splyce, they burst onto the pro scene, or as you'd say, the EULCS scene last year, immediately made it to Worlds, a very rampant growth. So how far can they grow still? How much room is there, or how far are they away from their ceiling, do you guys think?
I think it's really hard to say. I think their top and jungle are extremely good. Like, they're for sure their best players. Like, they were last split, and this split they will probably be the same. And then I think their bottom, Mithy can talk about it more, but I think Senkax in this meta is maybe not one of the best right now. I think we have to see how he performs and if he can be at the top level like he was in Summer Split. Otherwise, I think Splyce might struggle.
I'm really interested to see whether Splyce start mimicking some of their success from summer with 1-3-1 styles. We've seen a couple of teams try it. Cloud9 did it yesterday with a Fizz and a Shen in the NALCS. So if Splyce have something a little different from what we've seen here in Europe, maybe we'll see them come right out of the gates with a successful start to the spring split. But I think they're a team that we've always got to keep our eyes on for something that's a little bit different. So I'm really looking at that 10-ban selection to see how it affects them.
And maybe to get a bit of a reaction out of you guys, we did have Power of Evil here on the desk yesterday, and some other people said it as well, that some players have the impression that Splyce might be just as strong as G2 right now, if not stronger. Where do you think that comes from, and do you agree?
I mean, why not? I mean, I don't really mind how strong they are now. I'm okay with being the worst team right now, as long as we are the best team when playoffs come out. So the worse we are, the more we will get to actually learn from our opponents. So that's even actually a benefit more than a bad thing, right? So
yeah.
I'm not really worried at all.
Yeah, I was baiting you and nothing happened, so we can just move on. And I did think it was quite interesting that you guys were mentioning Jankos for H2K, and you were mentioning that their top and jungle were the best players for Splyce. That is not something we've heard like completely dominantly over the course of last year, especially the early game influence from Trashy at times, which is the reason why a lot of times Splyce didn't start strong. They always came back in games. Do you think that's something we maybe underestimated?
I think it's definitely something people underestimate, because I don't remember exactly, but summer split was like a lot of lane stops too until playoffs, and then in playoffs it was like they played versus H2K, which had like Jankos was like early game god, and then they played versus us, and so it was like the playoffs was pretty hard, I think, and the rest of it, I think they have a pretty good early game, like, yeah.
And you mentioned last year, Perks, Trashy played a whole lot of Rek'Sai, a whole lot of Gragas. The jungle pool is slightly different. And okay, we've seen Trashy play the likes of, more carry champions from the jungle. It's not quite the same as Jankos when he's getting on those champions that are going to come right into mid lane or bot lane and start putting the pressure down. Mithy, do you think that's something that Nuclear and Che will be able to contend with if Trashy turns his attention onto the bot lane?
I think Trashy plays more around mid and top. It's a little bit different to how our team plays. But if they do play around bot lane, I think it's going to be a very explosive match, because H2K plays around mid and bot, and so they will probably collide, right? So I think, even though I really don't think it will happen, it might happen, and if it does happen, I trust Splyce's bot lane to stand on their own.
All right, we'll see what happens. The players are getting ready just to jump into Champion Select. It's the first time for Splyce on stage, so then not everything goes according to plan some of the times, but we'll be continuing shortly. What do you think of the game plan of H2K? Or we have Crepo and the Fuchsia saying a lot of times that they think that bottom lanes in Europe just aren't the strongest bits of all the teams, or it isn't something that you have to maybe get your strongest players in. Do you guys agree with that?
But I think I agree with it right now. But I think it's because the bottom meta is like so team reliant. It's like about having TV priority top and about having like stronger mid jungle duo. It's all about, I think, getting the pressure from mid lane and then seeing how good you can use the pressure for silence.
Yeah, pretty much that. I think bot lanes right now are very matchup related. So if you're playing Zyra into a tank, then you kind of know how it's going to go. It doesn't really matter who is playing the tank and who is playing the support and the AD. Like, there's not really going to be that much of an outplay, usually. But yeah, like Lucas said, it's more about mid-jungle control, and the bot lane's not going over aggressive and waiting for TPs, waiting for the opportunities.
Okay, we got to go. I'm sorry to cut you off. Predictions, very quick.
Senkok's Talia, that's what I predict.
All right. Splyce or H2K?
H2K 2-1.
H2K 2-1.
Splyce.
Splyce 2...
2-1.
2-1 Splyce.
All right, there we go. We'll see if Splyce can show up here in their first match. Players are about ready, so let's hand it over to our casters.
Thank you very much, Shocks. I'm Daniel Dracos, joined by Mitch Crepo Vorspools. We spent a little time on the analyst desk, but now it's time to get into the thick of it, to get in casting. H2K and Splyce, I can't imagine a better way to start off our season together.
Yeah, really hype. Can't get rid of you. Tried on the analyst desk. Doesn't really work that way. But this is actually a pretty cool matchup, especially if you look at where they used to be. H2K and Splyce was a really cool matchup last year, and now H2K went through a couple of changes, 3 new roster changes, so they're looking for to find their footing, and that's exactly what Splyce were doing last year, right? They came in spring, took a while to find their footing, had to kick their support, and then suddenly they went off. Second half of summer split, 16-2. These guys went to Worlds, and they've gone through the rough patches where you got to figure out what to do. They're already refined, and that's why many people are calling them the best team right now, especially in scrims.
Yeah, and of course, it's such an impressive story, not just because they got better, but because of the scale. G2 came in good. They stayed good. Splyce came in bad, and they got very good very quickly. And you have to imagine that H2K want to repeat a similar trend. They want to be the team that brings in a few new members. They want to get good. Exactly. They want to be a top team. And for many people, they're expected to be the first or second place team in this group. There's a lot of pressure on these guys to be successful. But what we saw in their first game, it's not all there quite yet.
Yeah, and that's why it's a little unfortunate that these guys are meeting Bang in week 1, because if H2K gets some more room to grow in scrims versus these teams and just can start refining the little things, polishing the communication between the bot lane and the top side of the map, then maybe they can stand a better chance. It's quite surprising that at least, I think it was Perks on the desk predicting 2-1 for H2K. I would be very surprised if that happens. Altogether, looking at the way the matches played out, Splyce should win this 2-0 clean.
I don't know if it's going to be quite that clean, but I think it's very surprising to see him vote so confidently for a team we saw not quite performing as well as we expected in their first matchup. But here we are now getting into picks and bans. It's game 1, H2K on the blue side and Splyce on the red.
Yeah.
Now, Stress said he wanted to see some Taliyah, and he's not going to get it. No Senka's Taliyah.
Banned out. Obviously, we repeat it all the time, but blue side is kind of the ban out, the comfort pick of your opponent champion pool, and then obviously Splyce, they have to ban the OPs. You know, the likes of the Rengar, maybe the LeBlanc, Camille will be on their list. Should be a super exciting matchup, player versus player at least, for Trashy to kind of keep Jankos caged. Especially for Wunder to face off against Odoamne, because it could be a variety of picks. It could be tank meta, it could be carry meta. They're in the top lane, depending on the second ban phase mostly.
And we've seen these guys go head-to-head so many times. Of course, in their best of 5 in the semifinals, it ended up being Splyce taking it 3-2. Odoamne playing a ton of Gangplank. Wunder playing Gnar each and every one of the games, but the top lane pool has shifted a lot. Still see some GP every once in a while, maybe see some Gnar, but it's a very different landscape for both of them to be entering.
This is where the guessing game starts. Where does LeBlanc fall on the priorities? You're going to get banned out. Rek'Sai is banned out by H2K. Maybe they want to go for... Or Kha'Zix is banned out, rather, which indicates more priority on the Rek'Sai maybe earlier on. Getting that off Trashy's hands. Interesting how Kha'Zix kind of got buffed every patch and eventually resurfaced in the meta.
Well, Tahm Kench taken away as well. A very strong counter to the Malzahar. Splyce taking away the LeBlanc, though, not too concerned. It does leave the Malz wide open, but there is a ton of power up and on the table.
That Tahm Kench ban might influence the way supports are picked after the second ban phase, because very often we see the Karma and maybe the Misfortune banned out, and the teams go for, okay, let's pick the Tahm Kench. It might not be available anymore. Let's see if this creates a bit of a pitfall later on. Obviously, when Zyra is open, generally teams want the first pick her. This used to be where we thought maybe like Syndra first pick, but there's enough matchups to play, especially with Ryze still open, that H2K really valued the power push from the Zyra. She is the S tier support right now and worth picking up.
It's interesting that you bring that up. S tier for Zyra. I think a lot of people were thinking it was going to be S tier for Malzahar, given the raw power that it showed when we first saw it appear in solo queue and from what teams were mentioning from Scrim. Why aren't we seeing Malzahar here?
I mean, suffice to say, there's plenty of weaknesses. We'll delve into the specifics of the matchup if it gets picked. We can just keep focusing on the draft, because with only 30 seconds, it takes about a minute and a half to truly dive into Malzahar, and then people are going to think this is a new Krugs. So let's just keep going here.
You've suffered enough at the hands of the Krugs meme. Yep. All right, so it's going to be the Syndra locked in. You said that there are some matchups they can bring out here. Rek'Sai taken off the board as well. A strong, consistent jungler for Trashy, something he has been known to play a lot in the previous season. Jankos getting the Jhin as well. What do you think the option is here for H2K with this final pick in phase 1?
Okay, they could just match the mid lane, wait for some other picks. Because I like just matching a pick that you've seen on the other side already, so you can at least leave some counter pick potential. If you reveal a role right here, you may get outbanned later on. But they're going for an early top Jace lock-in. That's actually interesting. There is potential for Splyce to play carry top laners, however, because they have a tank jungler. I really like having either a tank in top lane or the jungle, but not both at the same time. So that's really good to enable Wunderwear, but he might have to pick right here. So Splyce is in a bind. They want to get a favorable support into the Zyra because they're afraid that Misfortune and Karma will get banned out next rotation. But if they pick support here, then H2K is obviously going to start their second ban focus towards the top lane. So that's actually really smart for them to kind of force Splyce to react here. What do you value, a comfortable support or a comfortable top laner?
Yeah, the flexibility in the second ban phase has been very big because you saw, as you said, teams focus banning what is left available, and now H2K are free to ban what they want, but Splyce are prioritizing the top laner here. They're taking the Shen off the table.
Yeah, but they're taking the Shen, which means double tank. Rek'Sai Shen, really beefy front line. Obviously, there's damage coming from Syndra, but then a large damage component will have to come out of that bot lane, right? The problem right now is we're going into the second ban phase where H2K can specifically target that bot lane. They've locked in their support, they've locked in their AD carry, so they can start banning away picks that influence the bot lane in general, weakening Splyce there exactly where they need to draw their power from to kind of fulfill this composition. So Splyce, they definitely need to react to what H2K is going to ban here.
And short of some kind of mix-up, it does feel like H2K are one step ahead in this pick and ban phase. Misfortune, the traditional counter to Zyra, taken off the table. They can take another support. They can take an AD carry off the board if they want. And Splyce just taking away power picks here. Elise, a strong early presence. Ryze, a strong mid laner in just about any situation. But Splyce feels like they're just banning what they have to, what is powerful, whereas H2K feels like they have a really clean plan coming
They're banning the opposite roles, obviously, so take away the Ryze because it's a strong mid laner left, but there are the likes of Orianna that you can still play and kind of survive. Usually this is a Karma ban. We've seen this so often. You lock in Zyra, you ban Misfortune, you ban Karma, and then the Malzahar matchup has to be played, but because many people don't want to play the Malzahar matchup, they end up going for the top Gensh, which is also banned, which makes me surprised that it's actually the Ashe ban that finally comes out.
Ashe, of course, a solid source of consistent damage. Varus probably the last probable meta pick left on the table, but
Jhin is good into Ashe. That is what kind of surprises me here. Maybe they're just very afraid of kind of Malzahar and Ashe together somehow if they ban out the Karma. It's peculiar. We'll have to ask the players. Obviously, you can only speculate so much, but it does look like the Karma goes through, and then it is the logical pickup.
Karma, of course, pretty much safe into every lane. May not be the ideal matchup, but has the range, has the poke, can trade if necessary. Maybe falling flat in front of the raw power of Zyra, but a lot of utility available in the kit as well. H2K waiting on a jungler, waiting on what could be a top or a mid laner. Have heard rumors of the mid lane Jace, although have not seen it too much.
So this is a double flex. Jace can go both top and mid lane, and Rumble can go both top and jungle. So there's still information hidden. Obviously, won't be flexed for too long because they're about to lock in the last pick.
Short of a triple flex, I think Splyce will have a good idea exactly what is going to come out of these lanes. But I think it's good that you brought up the Malzahar, because if we do see it here, Malzahar was the death sentence for H2K when they played in the semifinals. When it was Malzahar mid, that was all powerful. But this is new. This is the Malzahar in the bottom lane, and they're not worried about it at all. And of course, they shouldn't be. Karma taken off the board, and pretty much no chance for that champion to be seen.
The value this Jace flex pick brings now is that otherwise he would have to lane top lane into Shen, which is a fine matchup for Shen. He gets really tanky, and after a while, Jace can't really do much. Now Shen has to play in Rumble, and that's actually a good matchup for Rumble because he has more push power. He can always burn through, and the Jace has to go mid. It's a very swingy matchup against Syndra, where Syndra, if she gets ganked, help from Rek'Sai, Jace can actually go down quite a few times. But on the other side, there's just so much damage coming out of Jace and Lee Sin, but they lack lockdown. So it's all up to Senkix right now to kind of sidestep there in the mid lane.
Can be interesting to see as well, because we've seen, I imagine Jace may follow a similar pattern to the Corki, where yeah, he can get all in, but we've seen the power of exhaust on mid laners over the last couple of days, and it feels like once you get into the late game, if Syndra ever gets close, she gets exhausted, and she's such a non-factor in a lot of these team fights.
Yeah, but I think Jace has to all in first to get that exhaust, because if you get QE stunned by Syndra, she can cast her ulti out of exhaust range. She only needs to throw 2 spheres in any random direction, press R, and you're still gonna die. Obviously, he's gonna rush the Hex Drinker, go for Maw of Mamoshius to deal with the all-in power from Syndra. Honestly, as usual in the H2K versus Splyce matchup, the eyes are on the junglers. Trashy needs to assist some of these lanes to get them going, and Jankos has this early aggression jungler. Again, king of first blood. We've talked about it so much.
Yeah, the power is definitely in his hands to Lee Sin. Rek'Sai potentially forced on the back foot here. Maybe looking to respond to these plays, but it feels like H2K may have set the terms in picks and bans, may have been the proactive ones, but Splyce still walked away with a pretty solid composition overall. It's going to be interesting to see how these early lanes unfold. Febiven versus Senkux, not a matchup we've seen in a long time. Not since last year's Fnatic. How will Febiven stack up this time around? And of course, the bot lane remaining a large question mark. Head on over to Twitter, hashtag H2KWin, hashtag SPYWin. You have your faith in Splyce or the new H2K roster and lineup. But ladies and gentlemen, this is it. This is game 1 in H2K versus Splyce. An exciting way to start the season. And of course, this is essentially, for many of you, the battle for first place, or very well could be, as we move forward in the season.
Yeah, and I'm really excited to see what happens here, especially with the Splyce lineup. When we get eventually in game, the loading is slow. Somebody's playing on a potato PC, guys. You know how that goes. You're in champ select, you're loading, you're still loading. You check if you're disconnected. But eventually, there's one guy on his toaster He was into the game.
Going round and round. But here it is, ladies and gentlemen. H2K on the blue side, Splyce on the red. Jace in the mid lane facing down Syndra. Fevivin versus Senkux.
I mean, there's so much to talk about right now, especially if you're looking at Splyce late game. Because we talked about it so often in Summer Split. They're so good at coming back into the game from behind. They really know how to play these clutch team fights, but they only have 2 damage dealers. And both of them are low mobility. No gap closer on either Syndra or on the Varus from Kabe. So if there's a good Rumble ultimate at any point late game and Jankos can find a flank, the damage dealers get eliminated immediately.
Yeah, absolutely. The equalizer is so terrifying. Total 1.5 scaling AP ratio, 650 base damage at level 6. It's an impressive ability and one that they may have to play around, but they do have the global power here. They have the Rek'Sai, they have the Shen, a few more options to start fights on their terms. But man, once they're started, I think you're right. It's so oppressive to play against this lineup.
And you can see what's been evolving lately in the pro scene meta. Whereas in solo queue, junglers very often like starting on the bot side, path to top to maybe gank mid or top, gank the solo lanes, get them ahead. Junglers have really been starting top side most of the time to really kind of assist and aid in vision their bot lanes, because bot lane push seems to be the cornerstone of where any pressure flows from.
Well, and we saw it, of course, in the first game of G2 versus Rawcat. Rawcat taking bottom pressure, advancing forward.
Really important here, the sneaky ward from Jankos, which means he knows that Trashy either starts on red, or Trashy doesn't start on red, which means he starts on blue. His bot lane gets the information to cater the minion wave and the push. We see Splyce trying to step on these plants best they can, but Nuclear and Shay have enough minions early to start challenging the push.
Zyra throwing down what poke she can, not going to connect with the early skill shots, but it looks like both sides just getting the push started off, looking for the pressure here, looking for the fast level 2.
Yeah, and this is where you can't get baited into trading of the champions. The team that hits the minions the most earlier in the game wins out, because after the push, that's when you can start trading with the champions. Aggressive push from Splyce early on. Obviously, they know they can't get ganked just yet, but they'll have to be careful around the 3-minute mark.
Absolutely. Lee Sin with a very fast early clear, despite the recent nerfs.
Cool little walk-up from Shay here. They're basically threatening Kabe to not launch any auto attacks on the minions before the waves are neutral. Obviously, that's what you want to do. Once you push, you want to walk up to the next wave as soon as you can. Start whittling it down. Shay was trying to stop that. But Splyce still get the level 2 first, and they get the poke bonus.
And Nuclear taking a decent chunk out there, and we've talked about H2K communication issues, but that won't affect the early laning phase for these guys. 2 Koreans speaking to each other, should be comfortable with the lane pretty confidently, although Splyce playing with more confidence as they get aggressive here, as they get the fast level 2.
Yeah, and this is all very, very known for these guys. This will happen a ton of time in scrims. Junglers start topside, guess where they meet at level 3? The battle over the Scuttle Crab, a little bit of vision. Both of them reveal their hand. Trashy goes back to his blue buff. No longer kind of hands it off anymore, because levels seem to be so important. Fevivin going for Wither Ward, where they failed. The Scuttle Crab, obviously, a little bit of vision there is important. This does mean that Odoamne can push as much as he wants. They just saw Rek'Sai bot side with no blue buff. Odoamne gets a field trip. He can just keep pushing in that top lane over and over, forcing Wunder to get poked and CS on the turret.
Absolutely, they have all the knowledge that they need. They saw the starting path. They know where Rek'Sai is going to be. They've seen the Scuttle Crab, and that means Odo, as you said, vacation. He gets to hang out, he gets to push in, he gets to farm. It's on Wunder to pick up what he can, but pressure priority is in favor of H2K.
Yeah, both junglers look at the bot lane. They see maximum distance between supports at all times, just like Mitty was talking about on the analyst desk. You're not really going to go for solo kills, so they start pathing back to the top side, or in Jankos' case rather, get more power base and then look for a skirmish. The Trashy's going the economic route, where he's obviously maximizing his uptime in the jungle. Jankos is going to invest a little bit earlier into more power.
Does get the double longswords, maybe looking to keep that title of First Blood King, but Trashy, honestly, we have to expect him to keep up here as he looks to pull off a little bit of invade. Rek'Sai, champion he is no stranger to.
Oh, the quick path from Trashy. He's done this in the past. Swing over to topside very early, unexpected. But Wunder's behavior gave it away to Odoamne. Here's the plan from Jankos.
Wunder doesn't want this. The health bar is too low. Trashy needs to pull back, but the resonating strike, the sonic wave, nothing is going to come through here. Splyce should be free to back it up. No energy onto Jankos. Are they going to go for the dive? Doesn't look like it.
Yeah, and this is all about pattern recognition and knowing that when your opposing laner breaks the mold, you know you're going to get ganked. You don't need to see exactly where the jungler is. He just knew Rek'Sai was there. He knew Rek'Sai was likely pathing behind him for a flank. And then obviously all he has to do is stall until Jankos gets there. Jankos pulls the wave a little bit. Wunder's on the turret. So this is a good move from H2K overall because they had a base advantage. Jankos has already gone shopping. Now he can counter jungle.
This freedom going to be coming in, and you can see the difference in build priority as we set our eyes on some bottom lane trading. Trashy, he picks up the vision. He wants more wards. He wants a little more control. He knows he's a bit weaker now, but Jankos, the raw damage means he's going to be a threat for the majority of this early game. And oh, Nuclear not going to get tagged out.
I'm loving it. It's a similar concept, whereas when the junglers were bot earlier, Odoamne could push. Yeah, if you have the poke and the push priority on bot lane already, and you see the junglers reveal each other top, you can just poke away with no repercussions whatsoever, unless there's TP wards. Really good move from Febiven as well. Leverage mid lane priority on top lane, and we're looking for a dive.
Wunder trying to pull him under tower. I think maybe realizes his fate here and tries to get something out of it. Spirit's Refuge buys a bit of time, but that's first blood for H2K. Trashy and Senkux maybe hoping to pick up the pieces here, but it may be too little too late. Rek'Sai advances, Tremor Sense shows Jankos, but nobody else, and Splyce walk away empty-handed.
Super clean early game from H2K. That base from Jankos going top lane, allowing Odoamne to stall a little bit, but arriving just in time, that propelled everything. Suddenly, the momentum top side was for H2K, and then they saw that they could leverage the push priority to roam. In Season 2 and 3, mid laners, they would get the push, they go Raptors, get a little gold. Right now, they get the push, they go top lane. They go bot lane, they look for more pressure, and a really good roll from Febiven.
And the worst part is with the recent patch changes, oh, you see a little aggression here. Even if they do go for Raptors, there's so much more XP in Raptors now that no matter what a mid laner does here, the power just feels to be in their favor.
Yeah, definitely. Odoamne now hits 6, and it's really important that they hit the global lane before Chen 6. So now if Chen gets punished more in lane, it's a lot harder for him to teleport out, and even if he does, the lane is most likely in a position where Odoamne wants it to be. Again, furtherly increasing the punish if Wunder ever leaves this lane. If he has to teleport mid or bot, he has no actual summoner teleport to get back either.
The big thing too, of course, is there's no way to interrupt the Shen teleport. So you can be like, yes, Wunder can go anywhere whenever he needs to go there, but Rumble can just ult. Yes, yeah. Death is a pretty good one.
Death is a pretty good CC, man.
Don't want to stand still for that equalizer. We already talked about the damage. It only gets more frustrating. Fortunate for Wunder too. Spirit's Refuge, yeah, you block autos, but that Flame Spitter just keeps hitting you.
Yeah, and you're talking about it, how do you block the Shen ulti? Well, he's already on half HP. If you know where he's ulting from, you put him on 10%, and he's forced to kind of finish that channel. And now we see Senkux lingering. Senkux looking for a QE into a tunnel flash knockup from Trashy here, but Febiven is respecting the potential of a gank. He's always leaning generally towards the side of where his jungler is, so you'll see him lean right, more in the lane.
Still not going to connect. Prey Seeker comes out. A bit of a warning to Febiven not to stray too far forward, but Senkux really expecting more of an impact here in this early lane. However, Jace backs off, has Hex Drinker, has the kill, and this is a perfectly comfortable spot for Febiven to be in.
Yeah, perfectly comfortable spot for H2K to be in. They dodged the early ganks where kind of these tanks are super strong because they have high base damages, where they're still kind of competitive.
And we look at it as well, it's very easy to gank, of course, with the Shen. Has his own CC, Rek'Sai provides great follow-up, Syndra can go out there and provide the damage, and so at this stage of the game, they are pretty cozy across the board. Now, of course,
there's a communication issue here, guys, a mic issue on Febiven. His teammates are obviously indicating, have you tried putting it closer to your mouth? He's now trying that, as we can see. They're figuring it out. We don't know what it is exactly, but they're trying to fix it.
I like your narrative that, have you tried putting it?
Hey man, I've been on that stage. People are like, my mic's not working. Put it closer to your mouth. And then during the games, like, I can't hear you. Yeah, because they put it like on their nose when they're drinking, or they put it on their throat. Like, mics end up anywhere, but
it happened to me
right in front of them.
International Wildcard All-Stars was like, my mic doesn't work, this is terrible, max it out. And they're like, the guy comes up to me and it's directionally turns it around to face me. I'm like, so.
Yeah, technology.
I like threw a fit, I was like, they need to hear me, they have to hear me, this is all bad. Oh no, I'm just a jerk.
That's why you remember, you never mess with audio guys.
No.
Because they can hit you when you're most vulnerable on broadcast.
You think you're off air? You're on air now.
Yeah, suddenly. All that trash talk makes it alive. No, just a little mic issue here. But aside from that, as cliche as it sounds, communication looks okay for H2K. They've basically been pinging out where Trashy is, and the opposing side of the map has been playing accordingly. Nuclear and Shay a bit in a bind in the bot lane. They're about 20 CS down, so that's where Splyce could get an advantage. Splyce aggressively fought for that push early on. They got it, and they never kind of gave it up. And because Jankos and Trashy were revealing each other all the time, the Splyce bot lane always knew with how much pressure they were playing, basically, or risk of getting ganked. So they could keep on poking and poking and poking, and it's eventually going to hit a breaking point where there's going to be some really bad base timings for Nuclear and Shay.
And I really have to point out, the 20 CS lead in the bot lane is obviously crucial, but what surprises me more is the 26 CS differential between Jankos and Trashy. Now, that's not a straight-up gold differential, of course, due to the way that the new jungle works, but a 300 advantage on top of the assist.
Yeah, never look at CS when you talk about jungle. It's what tilts me the most is when there's commentary on the jungles like, oh, this guy is over 26 CS up. He's essentially doubling him right now. You look at the gold, he has 300 more gold.
He's taken one more Krug camp and one more Raptor camp.
Yeah, because he has an assist right now. The only gold differential between Jankos and Trashy right now is that assist gold on that first kill.
Worst part is I can see the gold and I fell into the trap. I got super excited about it, started talking, and then, oh yeah, 300 gold.
Yeah, that's literally the assist right there. I definitely want to highlight again how the nuances in pathing are there for the junglers. So we saw junglers start top side. They went to the bottom side of the map, and then finally they did something different. So they mirrored themselves at the Scuttle Crab, as we were still seeing Fevin and Jankos trying to figure it out. But then Trashy did something really cool, is where he did it in the past, where he passed all the way to the top side again, and he looks to snowball Wunder. But because Oruana played safe enough, Jankos was ready to counter that, and essentially got H2K ahead from that moment on. It's that decision right there, and their teamwork right there, that propelled H2K in a gold lead.
And it's exactly where they wanted to be, and we talked about slow and steady play. It's a lot of what we saw against Origin, not taking over aggressive risks, taking the game slow. And it's this time they built a game plan around it. They're happy to play slow in the early game. Let Jace get the Hex Drinker, let him feel comfortable, give Rumble the push, protect him with the Lee Sin. H2K are executing exactly kind of as planned or as expected here. The pick ban went out well for them as well, and we're really just waiting for Splyce to make a big move here or to pull out in some way.
Yeah, but we're actually just waiting for this pause.
Actually just...
But it sounds like they're about to get ready. Ready checks are happening right now for the players. And we're actually going back in game, it seems. Pause is over, mics are working. Players are talking again.
All right, chat's coming out. It's time to get back into game.
Eventually.
We can look at Kabi again. Oh no, game's good too. Kabi's good too.
Obviously, there's a little bit of delay in the early game, keeping each other honest here. And again, more of the same. If you suffer from acute amnesia, Kabi and Mickey are still pushing the bot lane. There's a kill on H2K. That's honestly what happened. Oduamne has push in the top lane, or lane access at least. Fevin now gets his blue buff. He's been comfortable in the mid lane, dodging ganks. It's going to be hard for Splyce to find a way out. Gotta keep following Trashy. He needs to break this status quo.
Of course, you said it. I mean, there's not a huge difference in the numbers you see on your screen outside of a few CS differentials here. The biggest difference has been in map movement. Yanko's so proactive across the map, and already bot lane, Kabi actually taking a lot more damage than he bargained for there.
Yeah, and the swing's about to happen though. This H2K bot lane spikes much harder. The problem with Karma lanes right now is that she is okay in some matchups, but she obviously doesn't have an inherent spike on level 6. The reason Karma was picked so often in the past is because her 1-2-5, which is so strong, so dominant that you get an advantage. Right now you're neutral, and you're about to hit a level 6 Zyra with a Jhin combination. So H2K, despite being down in CS, they can spike much harder on that level 6.
Yeah, much harder to get the effective damage out from the Varus and the Karma as well. You need to connect the ult. You need to have the follow from the Karma. There are plants to block it. There are tools to stop that damage from going down, but so hard for them to interact with the curtain call.
Yeah, H2K playing it clean again. Lesson 1 when playing versus a global, attack the global first. Keep it pushed in, so there's at least an opportunity cost of teleporting down for Wunder. That's exactly what they did. They sent Jankos top, have Oduamne push in with vision, so he's comfortable. But Splyce, they're looking like a bot lane party is about to set up. Top lane is basing. Senkix is roaming with Trashy. Bot lane from H2K reacts accordingly. They're going to trade turrets. It's important that Nuclear and Shade do not get greedy right now.
Yeah, keep your eyes on Wunder. He has the ultimate. He may be the one who needs to show up bottom lane, but at the end of the day, it is, as you said, the turret trade. Not going to burn anything here.
Favorable play for H2K because they saw it coming. It was super obvious that Wunder was basing all of a sudden to get full HP because he didn't want to port on half HP. Senkix and Trashy telegraphed their roam. Nuclear and Shade did a great job of slowing it down, so in essence, there's a favorable turret trade for H2K with the first blood turret gold, and they chip away over 2/3 of the mid lane turret. This is fantastic moves from H2K.
Actually, one creep left. Looks like they may just go for the turret. That is a big boon in the favor of H2K. 10 minutes in, and they built a 2K gold lead off of one lane advantage from that Rumble.
Yeah, Splyce was playing checkers, but H2K been playing chess all along. They were a couple moves ahead. They really saw this super telegraphed, let's dive bot with 5 people, guys. Teleport with the Shen move coming, and they reacted accordingly because there was pressure in the top lane already. And it really shows how all these events are connected. The second top lane had pressure, Oduamne kept pushing in Wunder over and over. He was on half HP. Jankos showed up every time he needed to make sure Oduamne was not getting ganked, shadowing for a potential counter gank. And that pressure forced Splyce to make a sudden, rash move that was completely telegraphed, and H2K read it like a book.
It's so difficult to play League of Legends at this level because you can plan 3 moves ahead. But if one of those previous moves doesn't go your way, everything changes on an instant. The second Odo gets a lead, all of your playbook from Champion Select has to change up. You have to be ready to adjust what you want to do. And for Splyce, that means putting their power into the mid lane.
Yeah. Splyce moving into a 1-3-1 position. They don't want to leave their entire bot lane exposed because Kabe as an AD carry can't farm side lanes. A lot of the meta AD carries right now, they're pretty bad in side lanes on their own, which means their support has to stick with them. And it's kind of dangerous to leave 2 people on a long lane because they're still weak to ganks. And it means that the remaining part of the map plays super slow, kind of, you know. 3 man on the top side, it's really hard to play. So that's why you just put a single member bot on Senkux, have him play safe. Kabe and Mickey, they play from the mid lane, push in, supplement with vision, but when the second they leave the lane, H2K answers and brings more people to fight for the push.
And H2K playing around this as well, putting vision down in their own jungle, ensuring they know where Splyce is going to be, but that's the equalizer. Kabe locked up. There comes the Zyrol, who's going to go down. Kabe looks to fall. Yanko's in the backline. Mickey in trouble. Yankos wants another one. Double. Maybe looking for the triple. The bouncing grenade goes in. Trashy now set to fall. No, nothing's going to connect. Fabi comes down from the skies, delivers him to his death, and Splyce falling apart.
Beautiful moves here from H2K. Again, these textbooks reactions from Splyce are getting hard countered by H2K's superior map movements.
Oh
They're
no,
playing much more like a unit.
Nuclear goes forward, maybe not going to find it. Yankos wants to fight. Out comes the ult. Yankos going to try. Yankos goes for the hero play. Syndra presses R, but at the end of the day, it's H2K
I mean,
coming
she
out on
falls.
top.
There's no wave clear. H2K had the push priority in mid. Splyce fought back. The instantaneous engage from H2K netted them another turret right here. Teleport coming in from window, though. They want to get something
Trash
back.
is taking so much damage, though. I don't know if they can re-engage this. Out comes the Inspire, the Defiance from the Karma. They want to get more, and they're going to get Odo. But there's no wave to back them up yet. They need to get something in exchange.
Just watch the wave. Whenever they're sieging, there's only 2 creeps right here that are easily cleaned out, and then the next wave is all the way in base. So H2K are only going to lose 1 kill on the back end. They're super happy with this. They're going back into the building phase. Right now, they're going to push their side lanes out. Whenever you want to siege any objective, it all starts with side lane control. And that's what everyone wants to do right now. Push out the wave, base, and then hopefully help out mid.
Looking so good for H2K, a 3K gold lead, backing them up right now. A bottom tower, the only outer tower remaining.
Look how they're leaning to the left side, their safe side. This is them punishing Splyce going for vision. Splyce should never aggressively attack this lane when they don't know where their opponents are. Because it's so easy, because Odoane leveraged the top lane push and walked mid. Pushed out top, hit in the brush, he can engage immediately. Nuclear and Shay have that stronger spike that we talked about earlier. And Splyce, they're not respecting their opponents.
The strong spikes are across the board. The Jace, the Lee Sin, so many champions happy to be right in the middle of this mid game. And you saw it, Shen wants to TP in. He wants to save that Varus with the Stand United, but it's not enough. There's too much damage on this lineup, and the damage of Splyce does go down to killing Yankos, but at the end of the day, it's a consolation prize.
Yeah, and with correct map moves, playing with a composition that is pretty much all damage, H2K can snowball super fast.
Absolutely. Now, interesting to see the way this mid lane matchup has unfolded. When we look at how Febivin and Senkux stacked up last season, it was so very back and forth. Febivin with some good games on Azir, some good games on Vlad, but past that, Senkux coming out on top once or twice. So seeing them now matched up again, it looks like Febivin really coming out with the edge here, despite Syndra being renowned as this powerhouse pick.
Yeah, but the edge never really came from them playing against each other. League has evolved so much that it's an advantage is never made in your lane. It's made in somebody else's lane. You're mid, well, you get an advantage by killing the top lane or the bot lane. Very rarely do you see raw out plays in the mid lane.
No need for hyper-aggressive decisions there. Yanko's going to grab the Cloud Drake.
APM cam. Q, auto.
Look at this. You see that? Oh, he pushed Smite like 6 times there. Watch out, StarCraft, we're coming. That's a lot of APM.
Come on. This League's good at many things, strategy and all. APM sadly not one of them. Oh, this is again, this really good poke setup. Every time there's some damage up to Senkux from afar, whether it's a Zyra plant, an EQ from Jace, Nuclear has been spot on with those Ws.
Feels like a very good pick for him overall. Helps him facilitate everything else that his team wants to do.
All right, and now it's important that we just keep tracking these minion waves. Whenever you see like, kind of a blue ball of destruction move up, it forces Splyce to reveal themselves and keep themselves busy, while that guy that just pushed up, he's going to move to a different part of the map and essentially outnumber. That is the whole strategy around rotations and pushes. C3 bot here, because Yankos solo pushed out mid, 2 people from Splyce were catching that wave. Yankos can 3 up, add some pressure, steal away the blue buff. It's all too easy right now for H2K.
Gets it too. Trashy does his best to take it away, but gets outsmited by Jankos in the end. Now, you want to get excited for Splyce because there are a few good notes for them coming in, most notably the farm for Varus in the bot lane. But when you take a look at the goal differential, there's nothing there because of all the globals that H2K have been able to get.
Yeah, Splyce must definitely be a little bit worried right now. Obviously, this is best of 3, and the game was very draft dependent. There was only one key pivotal moment in that top lane that kind of decided everything. Splyce tried to chase their loss, but it wasn't enough.
Yeah, tried to double down, tried to go for the gamble, as you said. Maybe swing themselves immediately back to the game or put themselves even further behind.
But they're going for the teamfight approach where they can really leverage the strength of having 2 beefy tanks in the front to protect their damage dealers. But obviously, H2K is trying to keep the map open, keep the map big, keep pressuring these side lanes.
It's doing very well for them. Fev more than happy to push out the top side. Rumble picking up the Krugs as he clears out bottom, and every single lane except for the mid lane appears to be in control of H2K, and it's taking so much from Splyce even to get that control.
Yeah, Odoam is actually, I don't think actually doing Krugs. He's just waiting because he doesn't feel safe. He doesn't want to get rotated on because he knows the Rek'Sai tunnel over the wall with Channelty is going to kill him. So they need information right now, and that is the one weakness H2K can have. There's only so many wards support can place that Splyce can make picks. You cannot perfectly ward, so it's a lot of deduction necessary. For mid, then Odoam can push out, but actually he should be mid right now because they need help clearing this wave. You know, the bind, that's what they're feeling right now. Obviously, because he saw 4 mid, he's already slow pushed the wave. He's probably going to try and push that back eventually. Odoam is a little lost on the map right now. You can see him pacing back and forth. He's really not sure what's happening because he doesn't have river vision. Splyce could be roaming on him right now. He could be waiting in a brush somewhere.
Going forward, taunt comes through. Good play coming in from Wonder. Yanko's not going to have a way to knock him back, which means Splyce now gain priority in mid.
And that's what H2K is doing. They say, you know what, we're not sure about mid, we're not sure about bot. Let's make a play on top. Again, attack the global so Splyce can't go for this Channelty engage. The second the reaction comes out from Splyce, which is 4-man push mid, Odoam does go to the wave. He's like, okay, now I know what's going on. I can push out this wave. And that in turn is going to be the counter reaction from H2K. Oh, we need to defend that wave in the bottom lane. That's going to give him more information, and now H2K need to find a way to punish that.
Splyce stepping up, starting to get into the chess game, stepping away from checkers, but it's built on the back of a mechanical mistake, and that is massive. In goes the engage. Mickey now set to fall. He flashes out, but it's not enough. Shen will be able to make it into the fight as the curtain call goes wide. Wonder going to lock up Shade. Follow-up damage may not be here. Wonder has the overstep. Mickey takes a ton of damage. Fevin moving forward. In he goes to the skies. Down drops Mickey X as H2K back off.
Yeah, and that's H2K working it out. Once Odoam finally gets the safe push on that wave without dying, they punish mid lane.
Oh, Senkuk's flashing in, but the equalizer is there. Splyce don't have anything left, and H2K cut through them like butter.
I'm loving the patience from H2K. So many teams would panic, would send their top laner, just push out the wave. ASAP, we need you mid lane, panic. Odoam stood in an empty lane, doing absolutely nothing for over 45 seconds, but it was still the right play to make for H2K, and they punished Splyce.
Giving up his own personal success for the success of a team. H2K working so well together. The hesitation from yesterday gone, replaced by patience as we look at it in this positive light as the team perfectly executes their punishes time and time again.
And they're forcing Splyce in such telegraphed movements. Obviously, we need to call out the mistakes from Kabi and Mickey. When your team's dealing 2 guys in the bottom lane, look at Rek'Sai, Syndra hovering around that bottom wave using cooldowns. You can't be this far up. You can't play versus Jhin, Zyra, and missing Jace this far up as a bot lane. That's a clear mistake. Yes, it's a beautiful punish from H2K though. That's exactly what they're looking for.
Yeah, and they go in again. Kabi even makes it out for a little brief moment here. Fevin gets aggressive. Looks like it may just be the 1 kill picked up, but...
And then they forget about Rumble. They look for a stun on Nuclear, but he gets a shield, and suddenly the equalizer comes in. There's a Zyra flank around, always in control. Zyra, or the Syndra not balanced enough to one-shot the AD carry after flashing.
Still has to hit some of those skills, unfortunately. And honestly, it feels like Senkuk's getting over-aggressive, feeling like he needs to make a play, like he needs to make a difference in this game to come back. He didn't realize that Nuclear still had flash. He should know that. He should have these calculations ready, but they're just letting the game get away from him, and it almost feels like it's too much right now for Splyce to handle.
And that is very often the best thing you can do. To force your opponent to grasp at straws is just honestly be patient. So many teams fall in the pitfall of trying to force a natural progression. Oh, we're 3 towers up, we should be 6 up in like 5 minutes. No, you can only force so much. Because the bigger the map gets, the harder it becomes for you to gain information. Because you only have access to 3 wards on the map from a support, a pink ward maybe, and then maybe a yellow trinket. But so many people are switching to blue trinkets. There's less wards from Tracker's Knives in general in the meta game. Of course, this game, both junglers build it, but it's very hard to get complete vision control.
Now, Shay now advancing, maybe looking for a bit of a pick here. Disengage is going to come through. Shen's still going to make it in the end, but Odo has now re-engaged the fight. Splyce pick up a single kill and will back off, but H2K grab the dragon.
Yeah, but it does highlight a little bit when a communication error couldn't be more here. Probably good
Yanko's
stun.
locked up. That could look good for them. Yanko's going to go and maybe look to commit. He does trade 1-for-1, now trying to make it out as two members are going down on the bottom side. Wonder going to get burned down. The Jace, too much. Yanko's still alive. Fancy footwork, waiting on the Q. Hops over the wall, heals up off the smite. Double kill, Febiven on the backside. Splyce, once again, they go for the aggressive play. This time they get 2, but it costs them double as 4 drop on the side of Splyce.
It was the right play for Splyce, but sadly they're too far behind. 4-for-2 traded, but it all started with the Zyra face check from Shay, and it's actually a little bit too greedy there. That's the one flaw we can highlight from H2K. If you're doing Dragon, your support should not be deep warding. Splyce, they punish accordingly, but they're just too far behind to win that fight. Look at what Jankos did solo. Just demolishing, I think it was Kabe in that fight.
Yeah, taking out Kabe, going toe-to-toe with Senkux. Yanko's having an amazing game so far.
It makes you wonder, why is Shay here? The jungler's on Dragon, the AD carries on Dragon. Splyce immediately recognizes it, so this is great punish. Chen ulti comes out, they find Shay, they disengage from the Rumble ultimate, but they want more. They really want to get another pick, so Kabe thinks he can open with the Varus ultimate. There's follow from Senkux, but then they're too far behind. Jankos can two-shot Kabe right now. In the backline, there's just too much damage from this Rumble from Odoramne, and it all gets turned upside down. Sweet moves here from Jankos. Jukes 1, smites for heal on 2, and he survives.
Febiven on the backside, the empowered shock blast, netting him that double kill in the fight overall, but H2K are just, I mean, they're picking apart Splyce. It's not crazy, insane team fights. It's punishing mistakes time and time again.
Yeah, I think it's an extension of the draft. Playing Shen Rek'Sai really leaves your top side weak, especially if you ever get behind once. So I'm not the biggest fan of double tank. Obviously there's macro errors here, but I think the comp allows you to get exploited. And H2K are playing greedy comp. They're playing zero tanks. They're playing super snowball. So if they get 1 kill, it gets them more benefits.
But it feels like their greed was planned from the start, as we saw them come into picks and bans with a clear strategy on execution, whereas we commented earlier, Splyce felt like they were on the back foot from the beginning, both in picks and bans and in the early game. Now, Kabe in trouble. Equalizer goes in, flash out to safety. Mickey doesn't have that luxury. Shock blast goes wide, but out comes the curtain call. Wonder going to do what he can to block it up. 3 members knocked up. Febiven goes in. Maybe looking for a little bit more. Now pulling back. Kabe taking down Jankos. It's not just first blood he's after. He wants to take them all. Che gets aggressive on the front lines. Febiven going godlike. One more auto, maybe looking for 2. Can he get the shock blast? Trasty shield as he makes it out. Jankos wants the highlight. Wonder's going to take him down. Nor is he. Jankos. Oh, he pulls back. H2K, they're too far ahead. And there's nothing left here in this game for Splyce.
H2K exuding confidence to the point of brutality almost here. Wonder's going to drop right now. Jankos is still alive somehow. They're playing with their prey. And nobody's building even defense. Look at Odoramne. Liana's into Void Staff. You would so often expect an hourglass here from the Rumble, but H2K is specking full damage.
So many low health bars. Pings are coming out for the TP potentially.
Still 20 seconds.
Not enough time. Snare going in. Well, Crepo. This may be all she wrote as we look back on this team fight.
Look at Odoramne. Like, he doesn't have he's playing as if he has an hourglass, but he's not getting punished for it because there's just so much damage. Febiven really good weaving in and out of the fight here. Exhaust 1, switches targets. Good EQ combo, uses his gate again to speed up a little bit. Jumps onto Senkux, flashes over the QE from Senkux to then get that stun.
And honestly, when we see Jace in the meta, it's so often he's this poke bot with a good laning phase. This feels like so much more. Able to engage in these fights once cooldowns are burned. Putting out so much damage. You can see not as much as Rumble with that equalizer.
Yeah.
But 2.8k as they move into that fight.
Yeah, this is what happens when Jace snowballs, obviously. Jace is forced to play that kind of poke style, obviously when he falls behind or stays even. But he has a really destructive all-in combo with the W that forces you to shoot out maximum attack speed shots. Then you can switch and it's hammer time. But it gets punished far too often.
Yeah, the hypercharge, of course, so effective for cutting through each and every one of his opponents. You can see the QSS as well. He will not be locked down, has the magic resist, the shield coming in as well. But H2K looking for another fight.
They've got their eyes set on Baron here, H2K. They're looking to play super aggressive because there's a solo push in the bot lane from Splyce with the Shen. H2K is looking to punish that. They're basically telling him, you can't play us 5v4. You send the Shen here already, or we're just going to take something. Whether it's Baron Vision, or now the top lane turret.
Top lane tower may go down, but if they do get aggressive, if they do try to go to Baron, the one positive point for Splyce is they do have vision behind enemy lines. They do have those TP flanking wards, but I don't think it's going to be enough. Splyce too often on the back foot this game. Now running through a choke point that H2K controls.
This might be it.
Oh, Febvin getting caught on it. Will they have enough damage? Out comes Redemption. Not going to be enough. Febvin making it out. Jankos is on the backside, but he's exhausted. Now trying to pull out. Odo blocks any further engage. Wonder still alive. Members traded back and forth. Blinking health bars on the side of H2K, but it's not enough. Out comes the curtain call. Senkux makes it out. I don't know if Wonder is. One more shot to do it. Double kill coming in for the Jhin. Kabi running for his life. Senkux trying to make his way out. Empowered shock blast. Febvin insult to injury in this game, and Jankos has his eyes set on that inhibitor.
Yeah, that was the last straw that Splyce was grasping at. They tried it. It was a good engage. They unleashed everything they had on Febvin outside of his exhaust range, despite it being down anyways. But it just wasn't just quite enough. And obviously H2K punished. They get 4 kills. Now it's Baron. And that's any semblance of hope of Splyce winning this game is now gone.
Just stop it there. No more hope.
If we're playing chess, that's when you hit that little thing on the side. Opponent's turn, we're going to game 2.
Make chess sound so awesome. Crap though. Just gonna use another word, but less appropriate.
Yeah.
Now, Baron picked up for H2K. This is going to be the final nail in the coffin, as you mentioned. No straws left to grasp at, nothing left on the plate. Whatever proverbs, whatever sayings you want to use.
Say it how you want. It's a good
end.
engage, honestly. It's a knock-up. It's a stunner to knock up in the Febvin, but we really see the power of the Bomb on Mortius, and then suddenly he'll come out. Shay, he bites the bullet. That's what our supports do. When your team wins a fight, you end up dying. But everybody gets punished, especially on the back end. If you lose a fight against this comp and you have to run away from the speed up from the gate from Jace, the fact that he can shoot Empower, Shock Blast through it, the fact that Jhin has both the W and the R to get chasers out, and then Odoam is untouched when people are running away from the Rumble, it makes it very easy to chase people down.
That Rumble damage. Remember, you just got to push R, folks. You push it, you aim it right, very hard.
Press it.
You have to aim it too. That's pretty difficult, but man, it does so much damage. And Odo is playing so incredibly well. Jankos gave him just a little bit to start the game off, and he's been building a lead for himself ever since.
Yeah, he got snowballed very early in a swingy matchup. And it all comes down to the Jace flex in Champs League. Splyce was expecting most likely that Jace to go top, and then H2K flexed it at the very end, revealing their trap card Rumble.
Yeah, and what an effective trap card it was. Odoamne has 25k damage currently, and he's doubling everyone else in the game at this point. So you can see what happens when you give a character like Rumble the chance to get a lead, and you give him these favorable team fights. Arrow goes wide, though.
Yeah, H2K just grouping right now. They have the Baron minions to stay alive long enough.
Shen's ready to go in. Wonder delivered, but kicked back, so he's not going to get quite where he wants to. Now Shen is in the back line, but he's the only member there. The team peels off to kill the tank. There is absolutely no follow-up and no kills traded back. Curtain call coming in for Splyce, and it may just be their last stand. Shots going wide. Double kill goes in for Nuclear. Not going to get it in the end. We're now moving forward. The base set to fall. Febvin goes forward once again. H2K want the kills. Odo's burning through them. Everyone roasted to a crisp. H2K coming in, cleaning house. It was clinical. It was everything we expected from the draft, and H2K out-execute to take game 1.
Yeah, much better performance than what we saw on day 1 from this H2K lineup. The communication issues between the bot side of the map and the top side of the map seemed gone. However, it was Nuclear and Shay playing on an island early, but they did it well. They were 20 CS down, but it doesn't matter in the grand scope of things. Key highlights for me really are when Odoamne was hovering in the bot lane, waiting for the safe push out, and just the cadence of events that happened right after. The bot lane push, forcing to reveal, catching Mickey and Kabe, who were already behind, trying to get back into the game in the mid lane. Those type of things. The base from Jankos, straight to the top lane, counter-ganking, potential trashy pathing, really reading the game well.
And really, when we look back at it, like, bot lane was the one boon for Splyce in the early game. They had the pressure, they had the advantage, and when we criticized them for falling behind in CS, but at the end of the day, Nuclear and Shay pulling back was the best decision for the team, and that's the kind of communication we wanted to see. But we're going to have to see how G2, Shocks, and Stress, as I hesitate there for a second, feel about that game, because H2K is one up over Splyce. Let's go to the analyst desk.
Thank you very much, guys. We're going to talk a bit in depth. We were discussing throughout the entire game and just vamping a little bit about that. We're going to start by picks and bans. Very interesting picks coming out, especially Perks. I want to ask you about the Febvin Jace and the fact that H2K waited long and then swapped it out. Did you think it was going to go in the mid lane for the whole time?
Well, I think it was quite obvious because they first picked Zyra, which is a really strong pick now, and I think they must have known that Splyce didn't really practice MF because MF is like Zyra counter, and so Splyce first rotation is not bad. It's in the Rek'Sai. It's like the best, strongest like jungler, one of the strongest junglers, one of the strongest mid laners. But I think after picking Jace, they should not pick Shen. That's my opinion because Shen is really weak versus Jace on lane anyways. So that's a picking into losing lane matchup, which is not good in this meta. And then after that, they got kind of outminded or like outbaited, and they banned a mid laner, Rice.
Yeah.
And then they didn't ban Rumble top, which they should have banned if they pick Shen, because Rumble is really good into Shen regardless. So I think they did those two mistakes for top lane, which makes Wunder kind of useless, or like makes his pick kind of useless. And then they got a 5-5 mid matchup, which is good after Mauve, and after Mauve Jace is like really strong, it can never die. And then they got a push in top lane matchup, and they got a really strong jungler of Lee Sin. So I think, and the bot lane was also like, the bot lane is not winning, but it's like they are really useful after lane. So I think they just won the draft, yeah.
If you didn't notice, Perks really highly liked the H2K draft there. And I mean, you mentioned the Rumble ban. I mean, it was banned in their series versus Origin, but it translated Mithy into a couple of players early. This was the first blood that came through on Wunder on the top side. This was the Shen Rumble matchup.
Yeah, I think that the main thing was that, well, here we see that Drancos is getting first blood, but the matchup Shen against Rumble just pushes Shen in all the time, and it's really not fun because you're just farming under tower and it just doesn't turn out so well.
And on top of all that, we saw it coming. You guys said it before. Jankos, the first Blood King. What is it? Do you think he just now has the nerve to push through on things like that, even though it was Febiven picking up the first blood, but that Jankos so consistently gets it time after time after time?
I think Jankos is just so comfortable on making plays. It's his playstyle, even though sometimes it may backfire. But I think a lot of games, it's just he's the one who's carrying his team and putting up what he needs to put up.
So that top lane was going really well for the side of H2K. And Mithy, you were talking a lot about the fact that you might have wanted to see an Ezreal instead coming out in the draft. Why was that?
Yeah, when Jhin was picked, normally you want to go Sivir into Jhin, but instead I would have at least wanted to see an Ezreal because they would have one lane anyway, and it just made like the fact that you have a little bit of more mobility, it's better against Jhin. And now you see their bot lane, like even though they lost bot and they were like 20 CS down because they picked Varus, they were able to run mid, get a pick on mid, and then like get mid tower. And after the mid tower falls, and they have a static AD and a static mid laner, so they can't like move away from the Rumble ult, the Jhin W, and they can just coordinate everything and control the whole map.
And talking about how influential that was, it resulted in a pretty catastrophic team fight in favor of H2K. Perks, you were going, wow, okay, H2K, they look legit here.
Well, here we can see just the dual lane standing mid when they have no mid turret, which was a mistake from Splyce before, when they lost a mid turret. And if you lose a mid turret versus 1-1 comp with Jhin mid, it's kind of like game over. It's really hard for them to come back because Jhin has priority over the whole lane, the completely long lane, and then they can just move on any side they want to move, and Rumble can also just use his ult from long range, and yeah.
You can even see that Rumble even missed his ult, right? Like the ult didn't even hit it, just like ticked the Varus just for a little second, and then the Jhin gets the W off, and then once the W hits, there's like a 1 second, 2 second cooldown, even though it lasts forever, and you usually die when it hits. So after that, they killed Varus, and
it's super interesting because actually Kabi had a 29 CS lead at 10 minutes and at 15 minutes, which is the highest of any player so far in the ULCS this split. But it's interesting to hear from you guys how it doesn't really matter in the long run if you look at H2K's game plan.
I mean, H2K, like I was talking about it earlier, where I thought that H2K's bot lane was very good at knowing what their win conditions are and how smart they are. And this game, it showed their bot lane was under pressure. They were kind of doomed, right? Like there was a 20-30 CS lead nearly. And what they did was when they knew they were getting dive bot, or before they even got dived, before Splyce was setting up for the dive, they went mid, got the catch on mid, and got the mid tower. And that was very smart, very good. It was also Splyce didn't expect it, and it just paid off greatly.
But yeah, I agree with you. The CS difference overall in this meta, I think it doesn't matter much for any lane, like for top, mid, or bot. Maybe for bot it matters a bit because bot can pressure and they can dive, but it also depends on our lanes. I think in mid, at least for my role, it's like if you're behind 10 or 15 CS, it doesn't even matter as long as you can actually start pressuring the wave after you're behind. Like if you're behind 15 CS and you can still pressure your lane and move to other sides, it doesn't even matter if you're behind CS. And it's like you can't snowball from CS lead.
Exactly, and we've been discussing this behind the scenes in the build-up. watching a couple of the other regions where, you know, you start talking about acceptable CS deficits to be at. Like Maokai is fine to be 10 to 15 CS behind because you know he's coming out of the laning phase and suddenly he's going to take over the game in team
Even
fights.
more, honestly. I think that
if you're Maokai, you can just go AFK and...
as long as you don't lose the tower, because once you lose the tower, the map is open a lot more. You have the enemy top laner. We're talking about Maokai now, so the enemy top laner will have more freedom to move into mid lane, to even like lane gank bot lane, for example, because the wave will bounce to him and he'll have more time. But generally, CS leads don't really matter, like if you look at the big picture, which is team fighting and skirmishing.
So you're saying I can miss all the CS I want?
I don't need to last it, so I really don't have any problem.
No, all right. We're talking about the pro level, of course, and we're going to recall and buy some wards. But when we come back, we'll have game 2 between Splyce and H2K. We'll be right back.
But then I have to skill like that. And then my teammates will get headache. I don't know, man.
Here comes the Zyra, who's going to go down. Kavi looks to fall. Yanko's in the back line. Mickey in trouble. Yankos wants another one. Double. Maybe looking for the triple. The bouncing grenade goes in. Senkuk flashing in, but the equalizer is there. Splyce don't have anything left, and H2K cut through them like butter.
They get the shock blast. Trashy shield as he makes it out. Yankos wants the highlight. Wonder's going to take him down. No one is Yankos. Oh, he pulls back. H2K, they're too far ahead. H2K coming in, cleaning house. It was clinical. It was everything we expected from the draft, and H2K out-execute to take game 1.